Hey, what is going on, all you bus nuts, geeks, and enthusiasts out there? Welcome to another episode of Motor Coach World. My name is James. We live in a world that evolves. Everything that we use on a daily basis has started out as an idea, then a product, and over time, the product changes to be better. That phone you're holding in your hand right now as you watch this video, that monitor or TV screen that you're staring at right now, all the way down to the underwear you're wearing. It's just got a little weird. Has probably changed over and over and over again since the day it was branded. But whether it's on the personal side or industry side, we are constantly making things better and better. After all, that's how everything from nature to capitalism survives. And those that stop bettering themselves, whether it be a product, a species of animal or insect, or even a type of motor coach, well, they become obsolete and usually die off and end up becoming a footnote in history. But we as human beings love to explore how one thing led to another thing. We love to look at how the evolution of things happened. Historians, paleontologists, and bus nerds like me love seeing how countries, animals, and buses became what they are today. And sometimes when you dig deep enough in the footnotes of history, you'll find little sections of evolution that got lost. Missing links, as some would call it. So today, we're going to take a look at a particular motor coach that MCI briefly built at one point that not many are aware of. The MCI F3500, or the F model. So it wasn't easy making today's video. A quick shout out to Mark Keeler, a viewer who has requested that I make a video on the F series coaches that MCI once produced. But in the makings of this video, there just wasn't a lot of information about this coach out there to be found. If MCI had a forgotten stepchild, well, this bus would be it. So I did my best to find as much as I could in order to make this video. If you guys feel like I've missed any critical bits of info regarding the F series, or if I've gotten anything wrong, please let me know, as well as the other viewers down in the description box below. I'd love to hear from you, and I definitely appreciate any additional facts you guys may have on this bus. To trace the origin point of the MCI F model coach, we have to kind of rewind the clock a bit and go all the way back to the mid-1950s. A well-known bus manufacturer at the time, known as Flexible, based in Loudonville, Ohio, had produced several 35-foot coaches that were quite popular in the motor coach industry. These buses featured a revolutionary new type of suspension called the torsioelastic suspension system. The torsioelastic suspension system is a setup that uses molded rubber units that are bolted onto the chassis and suspension instead of metal springs of any kind, which gave the vehicle a much superior ride and handling characteristics. Aside from offering an incredibly smooth ride, the reliability and ease of maintenance of these flexible buses became extremely popular in the Mexico and Latin American countries. However, exporting these flexible buses to Mexico were extremely expensive due to high import-export fees, and this really limited the sales of these buses to the Mexican market. Well, to get around the high import duties in the early 1960s, Flexible found a bus and truck manufacturing company in Mexico called DINA S.A. Diesel Nacional, and gave them the license to begin production of the new Mexican-made DINA Flexliner bus. The joint venture took off, and the DINA Flexliner production continued all the way into the late 1960s, when Flexible decided it was moving on to newer and better bus designs. Well, even though by the 1980s production had ended from the Flexible side of things, there was still plenty of demand for the reliable and smooth running characteristics of the DINA Flexliner. So DINA acquired another license to begin producing a similar coach with a more updated body style that retained all of the beloved features of the Flexliner in the Mexican market. The model was called the DINA Model 330. Primarily manufactured in Mexico, a few of these did make their way into the US market. By the turn of the decade in 1990, DINA had improved the model once again slightly, as well as adding a 40-foot variant of the coach. At some point in the early 90s, production of the DINA 330 had stopped. Now, I couldn't find any information as to why, so if any of you out there has any insight on this, please enlighten the rest of us down in the comments below, as well as on Motor Coach World's Facebook page. Meanwhile, back in the good old US of A, Motor Coach Industries, or MCI, was going through a lot of changes as well. It was a time that MCI was kind of struggling to find a new identity. Well, in 1994, MCI stocks were purchased by the Mexican bus and truck manufacturer DINA. Both companies shared a rich history of developing and creating reliable and cherished motor coaches for their countries. So this actually seemed like a pretty well-matched venture, and this era became known as the DINA years to MCI. Shortly after the two companies merged, MCI and Dena started manufacturing several make and models of coaches, including MCI's reproduction of DINA's Viaggio 1000 for sale in the US and Canadian markets, as well as the MCI G model, a concept that MCI and Greyhound had drawn up collaboratively. But amongst these co-venture coaches being built, DINA really wanted to bring back their successful DINA 330. In fact, Mexican bus operators were demanding that DINA find a replacement for the model with its durable and easy maintenance characteristics. So DINA went to work, and together with the collaborative efforts of DINA's newly acquired team of MCI engineers, the resulting coach that came off the design board became known as the F model in MCI's lineup. In early 2000, the first F model coaches rolled off the assembly lines of the Sahun, Mexico bus manufacturing plant. Originally designated as the 102 F35, then later referred to as the F3500, the coach was originally intended to be sold and used as a conversion shell for RV motorhomes due to its affordable price and short length and wheelbase. But it soon found a lot of success in the shuttle and motor coach industries. The two-axle coach was 35.5 feet long, or 10.8 meters, at a width of 102 inches wide, or 2.6 meters, and a height of 11 feet 1 inches, or 3.4 meters. The MCI F3500 was powered with a Cummins ISC 285 horsepower engine. The MCI F3500 came also with an automatic transmission featuring the Allison WTB 400. The coach could seat 36 passengers with an onboard restroom. In Mexico, a 40-foot two-axle version of this coach, known as the F12, as well as a 45-foot three-axle version known as the MCI F14, was also available to the public for purchase. However, none of the 40 and 45-foot length versions were ever offered to US markets. The MCI F3500, the F12, and the F14 featured all of the celebrated qualities that made its flexible predecessor popular to the Mexican market. It was designed with the beloved torso-elastic suspension system, it had a very low selling price, and it was very simple in design, making it very reliable as well as easy to work on. In the late 2000s, many bus companies that offered shorter 35-foot coaches in their fleet were replacing them with the new MCI F3500. Now, despite the reliability and simplicity of the MCI F3500, the coach didn't really catch on here in the US. Now, there wasn't actually a lot of info in regards to what led to the low sales numbers of the F model, but after reading a lot of comments on a bus conversion forum on the internet, which I will put the link down below, one of the biggest mistakes that DINA and MCI made was not releasing the longer 40 and 45-foot versions of the coach in the US. As mentioned before, only the 35-foot version of the F-Series was available to bus companies in the US. Well, keep in mind that around the year 2000, the 45-foot or 13-meter length motor coaches were extremely popular here in the US. In fact, everyone was trying to sell off their 40-foot coaches to purchase the newer and larger 45-foot coaches that were coming off the assembly line. So according to what many people were posting in the forum, releasing a 35-foot coach into a market during a time where everyone was looking for larger 45-foot coaches, well, that didn't help the sales of the MCI F3500, which kind of makes sense. Although there were bus companies in the US that had a niche market doing shuttle services as well as small group destinations that absolutely loved the F3500s, there simply were not enough of them at the time that DINA and MCI released the F-Series coaches for it to gain any traction as far as sales goes. I mean, let's face it, even today with MCI's new 35-footer, the J3500, as well as Van Hool's 35-footer, the CX35, and Temsa's TX35 available for sale in the US, the 35-foot motor coach is still having a hard time finding its place in the US motor coach market today. Because of the low sales numbers of the F35, and after a failed venture of MCI's G model that was created under a collaboration between MCI and Greyhound at the time, which really hurt MCI's bottom line, which I did a video on the G model topic a while ago, feel free to check it out. Link down below and popping up here somewhere. By 2004, DINA had sold most of its shares of MCI to a group called Joseph, Littlejohn, and Levi, a private equity firm. This was a time when MCI was really trying to find itself again. The DINA years, as good as it looked on paper, didn't end up where MCI wanted it to go. By 2004, MCI was no longer offering the F model in its lineup, and as time went on, in the US, the F model was slowly forgotten about.
Had to make sure that history never forgets the name. Enterprise.
Now, in the US, there are still a few F models in service today. However, they are a rare sight. And as they age, many of them are being purchased by private individuals for motorhome conversions. As mentioned before, the short wheelbase of the vehicle, as well as all the other popular features of the F model, made it ideal for use as a motorhome. Now, just as a side bonus fact, after the F and G models that MCI produced, MCI skipped the letter H and I for their next model of coach designs. You see, the letter H was well known for Prevost H-Series coaches, and MCI didn't want to cramp their style, and the letter I was too much like the number 1 visually when printed out on computer. Now, in the makings of today's video, this topic made me realize an important thing. We all have to find ourselves sometimes, whether it's a giant company trying to find its brand image, or an individual trying to find their passion and purpose in life. It can definitely be discouraging and stressful when we don't know what that is yet. But the key word here is yet. And this may happen more than once in a person's lifetime or a company's lifetime. The key is keep looking, keep trying, even if something doesn't work out. Keep evolving and don't be afraid of change, no matter where you are in life. Otherwise, you'll become obsolete and turn into one of those footnotes in history. I hope you guys liked today's video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're watching this, then you are part of the motor coach world.